finally watched those three that epic trilogy of fantasy movies you guys have always been bothering about because I haven't seen them. Some people they really like these movies, um, so I finally watched them. My hopes were pretty high, and this trilogy isn't that good. They're not that good. So it's about a wizard and a hobbit with a ring, and the hobbit's like this tiny people, and they go on an adventure 9 hours long, and over three movies with these other tiny people. So right there, you already lost my attention. I don't, I don't care about any of these characters. People are always going off about how good the characters are in these movies, and I don't see it. The main Hobbit guy, the main character in the whole franchise, the whole trilogy, is who's played by Watson or whatever. He just whines and complains the entire time, and he's really boring. He's one of the worst protagonists I've ever seen. Kind of a dull character, if you ask me. Which, speaking of the other characters that he's whining to the whole time, pretty awful too, except for Borin, the dwarf, which we'll get to that. And then the villain. People like the villain. He's scary. He's not even that scary. When the main Hobbit guy, played by Tim from The Office or whatever, he finally gets to the main villain at the end of it's been like 7 hours of movie at this point. We finally see the villain, and he's played by Sherlock or whatever, and he taunts him, and then the movie ends. So I pop in the third disc, the last movie in the trilogy, see what the villain's going to do. In the first 10 minutes of the next movie, he dies. It's been like 9 hours of my time. You know how many other things I could do with 9 hours? I don't know. I don't see it. Not sure. Not even sure why this was a 9-hour trilogy. I mean, the book is based off a book, if you don't know. And that book is like 7 books. You could have made at least 8 movies from those 7 books. Split the 7th book into 2 parts. Part 1 and 2. You got 8 movies. So, the whole thing is just kind of boring and dull and hollow because they're trying to squeeze, these 7 books into 3 hour-long movies, which is just nonsense. It makes no sense. Which maybe is not the fault of the filmmakers. Maybe it's the author, which you don't know. Is C.S. Lewis, the author of the greatest trilogy of all time, which was actually 7 books. There were some things I did like, and I made a list. So, top four things in the best fantasy trilogy, the best trilogy, some people say, of all time. Number 1, the visual effects. The visual effects were some of the most beautiful things. I didn't know this was possible. Everything's so realistic. It's just like, yeah, that makes sense. That could actually happen. And you tell me, well, it didn't actually happen. It was a visual effect. And I'm like, wow, that's good work. Good work for the best fantasy. I see why people might like these movies because they're very entertaining. They got a lot of visual effects, but overall, it just doesn't do it for me. Number 3, I'm not sure if you know this about me, but barrels. Number 3 is barrels. I love barrels, especially when you put little people inside the barrels, and then you make a 7-foot-tall elf jump on the little people's heads who are inside the barrels, going down a rushing stream. It makes for some of the best moments. And then the guy in the barrel he jumps out of the water, and then it's great. Barrels. If the whole trilogy had barrels, I would understand why people love these movies so much. But They don't. So, Bombur. I love Bombur. Number 2, best reason for watching this trilogy. Best thing about the trilogy, Bombur. And finally, easily the best part of this trilogy. And I'm going to see why people like it so much. Because for this scene alone, the part when Gandalf is inadvertently saved by the best character in the entire trilogy, Alfred Lickspittle, when he gets catapulted into the mouth of a cave troll, suffocating both of them and dies.
I'm glad you're with me.